Just a second and we'll get started here. We're just going to do a weather update. In fact, let's pull up Storm Prediction Center here. Alright, people are starting to jump in. Hi, Tony. Doing well today, you know? It's always a good day when you had the day off. Give a couple seconds to let people get in here. Could be answering questions regarding this setup for today, and then also a setup that's coming for Saturday. I know my camera's kind of slow, kind of laggy, but I guess that's just the nature of it. So let's get started with this live update regarding the potential for a few severe thunderstorms across portions of West Michigan today, and then also the potential for a more robust severe weather event that could occur on Saturday. And some of the models, the global models that have come out about it, have been relatively impressive. I will say that for Saturday. Today's setup, again, it's really a low-end setup, so I'm really not, the only thing I'm really concerned about is the potential for hail up to inch, and then maybe some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts associated with downburst winds. So that's going to be something to watch out for today. This right here is live radar. Okay, so we're looking. I'm currently at a live radar image, and really you don't see too much going on. It's really been a cloudy day across much of Michigan, except for this morning. Some places saw some clearing. I think that's going to change relatively quickly, though. Okay, there's been some pretty quick clearing of the cloud cover across portions of, I guess, areas of Mount Pleasant and northward. I've received reports from some chasers out there that there's actually been some clearing out there. I think Drew's up there checking that out. But this area appears clearing, and I think that clearing is going to start to shift further to the southeast as we go throughout much of the afternoon and into the evening hours. Back here, if you look back out towards Wisconsin, you do see some cells starting to develop. And we have had some cells. We actually had a severe warning across portions of the Upper Peninsula, which did not have a marginal risk for severe weather today. Marginal risk for severe weather is shifting off to the south, but you can see that there's cells developing. There is one just north of Kewanee, Wisconsin. These are going to cross over the lake, and they're going to make their way into portions of central Michigan. So that is something that we will see make its way into the area. I'm going to turn this off real quick because it's, there we go. It's going to make its way into the area, and as it moves through, we will also likely see some convective development further to the south as well. There's actually, recent models have projected 2 modes of thunderstorm activity making its way across portions of eastern Wisconsin first, and then also moving into portions of central Michigan, and then that other mode could be in portions of southwestern Michigan. I will likely be chasing the southwestern mode if it does materialize. One thing that I have been noticing is that some of the models have put out sort of a bit of a capping inversion in some places further to the south, but I think it's likely going to be able to erode and break through that cap, and then those storms will progress through into portions of Michigan. You do see there's a lot of convection ongoing across portions of Indiana and Ohio. The severe weather threat is really not there. Again, at the same time, you're seeing all this rain down here. With that rainfall that is currently ongoing, it's likely you're not going to see any development of instability. The instability has been sort of developing across portions of Wisconsin. That will likely shift its way into portions of Michigan, as well as we start to see that clearing across portions of central Michigan, moving its way farther southeast as well. So one thing I'm going to take a look at is the latest models on this, on RadarScope here, and we can get a good look at how things could unfold over the next couple of hours. So again, convection will start to develop across portions of Wisconsin, and then we'll start to look at the timing here. You see that it's kind of following suit with what is happening right now. HRRR has been doing a pretty good job depicting this, but you see those storms starting to fire across portions of eastern Wisconsin, progressing over the lake. And also, as I'm doing this, you're free to chime in with questions if you have any with regards to this upcoming setup. But you have these storms moving into portions of central Michigan about an hour from now, around 3 p.m. Progressing forward, you see that they start to kind of develop into a bit more of scattered in nature across portions of central Michigan around 5 p.m. And you start to see some cells developing over the lake too. So those storms developing over the lake are likely going to be the ones that I eventually get on and chase. You can see that they start to develop some intensity as they start to approach a more favorable area of instability. There will be an environment here mainly for hail. One thing that has been interesting is that the HRRR model has been putting out this cell forming over portions of Kalamazoo County around 7 p.m. Still daylight. That is likely the storm I'm going to get on later this evening. It's sort of a backyard chase for me. It's not really the most robust setup for severe weather today, so it's not really something I'm going to go full blown out for to chase these. But again, this cell has been rather consistent over Kalamazoo County, so I'm likely going to target the Kalamazoo-Battle Creek corridor for the potential for maybe some hail, maybe the potential for some damaging winds. Tornado threat's not there today. Really not looking like a good tornado threat today, despite the fact there has been some storms that have been rotating across the Upper Peninsula today. I don't think that's going to be the case with regards to these storms. Good lightning with these storms likely, and good potential for maybe a view of a shelf cloud, especially if we get that clearing out ahead of these storms, which is likely going to occur. So clearing will begin to start to take shape across the area, and then we'll start to see those storms make their way through the area. So that's what is being shown there. Let's take a look at the SPC. So again, marginal risk for severe weather per the SPC across portions of Michigan and portions of northeastern Illinois. Again, tornado risk is less than 2% all areas. Then you have that 5% wind risk, and then your hail risk is a little bit trimmed off just a little bit, but still focusing that area where that convective development is likely going to unfold. So that's what we're watching out for with this setup. And then here's the HRRR once again. Get a look at how things will take shape. You got storms forming up near Traverse City around 5 p.m. And then they'll kind of follow along that frontal boundary through about 7 p.m. as well. So you can see storm up near Mount Pleasant looking like. And then we also have a storm that is sort of developing across portions of Kalamazoo County as well. You get a sounding out in front of Kalamazoo County. And again, set up for these storms as they progress further east, they start to weaken, and that's likely going to occur. This latest model run puts out the fact that there's not really a good chance for hazards, but the one thing we're watching out for is the gap between the lapse rates and the elevated cape. Master Grumble, good to see you there. Elevated cape. If that continues to widen and broaden out a little bit more, there's a better chance for some hail. Again, your lapse rates are very steep. Steep lapse rates close to 9 degrees Celsius per kilometer. And again, that's the rate of cooling of air as it goes further into the atmosphere. And that's a pretty fast rate. 8.8 degrees. Our dry adiabatic rate is usually 10 degrees. So that's usually in dry air. So the case where it's at 10 degrees Celsius and the potential for convective development could occur, hail potential is pretty decent, I will say, with any storms. Severe level hail, again, that depends on how wide that elevated cape gets, but at the same time, still something to be watching out for with this setup. So again, this storm is likely going to be the one I intercept probably closer to 5 or 6 p.m. I'll start to get out there and maybe get on these storms. It doesn't look like the time. It looks like time is going to be later in the day. Won't really follow these storms too much east of Lansing because I think they're really going to start to weaken. But that storm near Flint does seem to show some interesting development with this setup. Again, one thing I'm also concerned about is the capping inversion, cap of convective inhibition of about 100. But again, if those storms can fire early and then just progress further to the east, you could still see those storms continue to take off and kind of continue to progress. So conditional setup, very conditional setup for severe storms, but again, it is still possible. So it's something we'll be watching out for. With that, I'll be taking questions, and I will start to go into some details with regards to the setup for severe weather on Saturday across Illinois, because that does look more interesting, I will say. I must say that does look more interesting. All right, there we go. All right, if there's no questions with this setup, then we are going to move to the Illinois setup for Saturday because that is looking rather interesting. So we're going to go to the global models here, GFS. Again, keep in mind as I go through this, this is a model run. It's not necessarily a forecast just yet for this. And I'm going to say that the setup for severe weather is present based on the models, but we're not really going to make a profound conclusion as to what exactly is going to occur. So just keep that in mind. Let's bring it out farther out towards the more of the regional area. Alan, good to see you. Good to see you on the stream here. We just talked about the Michigan setup a little bit earlier. I'll go into a bit more details if you have questions about it. But I am going to focus the setup. And again, my computer's running slow. It's having issues kind of keeping up with this live. Let's see if I can boost that a little bit. All right, there we go. All right, so GFS model. Let's get an idea of how this could potentially occur. Man, I might need to work towards getting a better computer at this point. But let's progress this forward. Oh, man. My computer's running a little bit slow. Sorry about that, you guys. Let's see if I can speed it up a little better. Close some of those external apps here that are kind of giving me trouble. That'll do. All right, let's see if that does anything. So, progress it forward here. No Rumble stream. Okay, so in terms of the forecast, we're not streaming on Rumble, but the chase will be on Rumble. I will definitely be chasing on Rumble there. Again, I didn't really have time to set up the video stream for Rumble at this current point. So the forecast won't be there, but the chase will be on Rumble. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's talk Saturday. Saturday setup. So progressing it forward, you can see it doesn't look like too much if you look at it in Illinois at 1 p.m. on Saturday. But if you get a sounding out ahead of this, the sounding is rather impressive. Let's get a sounding. PDS Tor sounding, okay? So that means particularly dangerous situation, tornado environment being shown on the models, okay? I am planning on chasing this if nothing else changes at this current point. So that's something to watch out for. But low cloud bases, CAPE values of 2,500. Again, minimum value, and even without a high shear setup, is 2,000. So it's actually a good CAPE, good shear setup, which favors a good setup for severe weather, including tornadoes. You really don't have anything impeding these storms from developing during that afternoon in Illinois. You've got good directional and speed shear present, low cloud bases, and steep lapse rates, good enough 3-level CAPE to initiate storms, SRH values above 200, which again will create a favorable setup for tornadoes. And again, anything over 250 usually favors a setup for strong tornadoes. But again, it doesn't look like much here on the preset, but if we go closer to the looking at the dynamics of this setup, here, let me zoom this out a little bit so we can take a look at our dynamics here. All right, severe weather, surface-based CAPE. Take a look at that. Again, your CAPE values be around 2,000. Again, a better severe weather setup is probably going to focus itself in that higher CAPE setup down there. But again, Illinois is in play for this, so probably might target Illinois for that. But CAPE values are close to 2,500 ahead of those storms developing. Supercell composite values, again, analyzing the ingredients for the potential for supercells, around a value of 12, which is pretty good in terms of the setup for supercell potential. And then you do have favorable photographs as well, combined with decent instability, which could lead to the setup for some decent severe weather. Let's look at some of the wind fields. Again, you're going to have that low-level jet that's going to be making its way through. Associated with this, it's strong low-level jet, as a matter of fact, according to the GFS model. And then at the mid layers and the upper levels, you're going to have good support across pretty much all of the different levels of the atmosphere based on what the GFS is depicting. Euro is starting to pick up on this a little bit as well. Euro does seem to be picking up a little bit more on a Sunday threat for Michigan region. I can't chase that, unfortunately, but that's something watching out for. The Saturday threat, if the GFS does tend to verify, will be quite robust if it tends to. And I mean, this is just according to the GFS. We're not really comparing it to the Euro. If we look at the compare models here, let's see if we can compare models with the Euro out here. Yep, Euro's right here. So again, it does show a little less support, but it does show some support still present. If you go to the mid-level jets comparing to the Euro model, again, there's kind of a gap in there, but you do see some pushes of some mid-level winds associated with that. And then there's your GFS showing your low-level support, and then also your Euro showing some low-level support. Rather scattered in nature for Saturday, but that's around Saturday at 4 p.m., by the way. So those storms could initiate across portions of Illinois. And again, global models can give us kind of a rough estimate of things that are going to happen, but it's those convective models, those convective aligning models that'll come out probably along the lines of Thursday, we'll start to see a much better idea of what to expect. But again, it is a threat to watch out for across portions of northern Illinois at this current point, and it's something I'm going to be watching for rather carefully in terms of severe weather. So that's Illinois. We'll have to see how that unfolds, but that's something I'm watching out for with this setup. I'll be on for another, I guess, 30 seconds to take questions. Just want to do a little brief update with regards to all the things that are happening in the weather models. Again, this is GFS's idea of CAPE or instability for 4 p.m. Saturday, which again, this could be a really good setup for storms if it does verify. Wow. Good SRH. All right, if there are no questions, I'm probably going to sign off at this point. And again, this will probably remain on YouTube and Facebook for a little while. It starts with the Michigan setup, so you can refer back to that. Again, it's not too robust today, but still, since it's a backyard chase, it's going to be something. For Saturday, does it look like Metro Detroit has a risk? Possibly. You know what? Let's take a look at that. I think the threat is going to be more. It is far out, so that's the thing. It's very far out. It's hard to really make a good judgment as to what's going to happen. If there is a threat for Detroit on Saturday, I would be more watchful for that on not necessarily in the afternoon hours. I would look more in the overnight hours for a threat for Detroit. If we get a sounding around when those storms begin to arrive later on in the evening, again, the tornado threat does look a bit more marginal. You do not have as much CAPE to work with. You do have good SRH, but at the same time, there's a little bit of convective inhibition there and lower amounts of surface level CAPE. So I really think Saturday is not the best setup for severe weather in terms of Detroit based on this current model. But as we go forward into Sunday at around 0Z, you do see some convection across portions of Michigan. It doesn't really show up as strong convection, and it does show that marginal severe potential and another capping inversion present according to the latest GFS model. Since it's far out though, can't make any conclusions on it just yet. Saturday is definitely the day to watch for the Great Lakes region, I would say, especially across western portions such as Illinois and maybe even into parts of Wisconsin. So Sunday could amount to something too, but we don't have too much in terms of we don't have enough information to really make a good judgment on Sunday yet. Saturday, I'm planning on chasing across portions of Illinois. Sunday, I probably won't be able to chase. I've got other priorities at hand there. Again, let's stay live for a couple questions if there is any. If not, we will put a stop to this stream. Hopefully this was helpful. And again, chasing this evening. Make sure to subscribe. Stay updated. Again, I'll be chasing probably around 5 p.m. today. It looks like it's coming a little bit later than what I thought. So we'll see what happens. But thanks for watching. And I will see you all in maybe a couple hours.